lot of things are happening today on the name of Tipu Sultan. Okay, you have Congress doing Tipu Sultan Jayanti in competition to Krishna Jayanti. Who is Tipu Sultan? BJP calls him and the Hindu outfits calls him a villain. Who is Tipu Sultan? Is he a hero or a villain? Who is he?
So, with regards to Tipu Sultan, I think 15-minute, 20-minute debate is not enough, but we'll try to cover as much as possible. First of all, I want to talk about Tipu Sultan as the hero. Tipu Sultan was the ruler of Srirangapatna in Karnataka and a freedom fighter who fought against the British. Freedom fighter, I want to put that in inverted commas. And Tipu Sultan also has certain, achievements to his credit. He was the innovator of the world's first war rocket. He appointed judges from both communities, apparently, from both Hindu and Muslim communities. And he also introduced a number of administrative innovations during his rule, including a new coinage system and a calendar and blah, blah, blah. And then finally, the British seized the capital Srirangapatnam in Fourth Mysore War in 1799, I believe. And there were more than 60,000 soldiers of the British East India Company, approximately 4,000 Europeans and the rest Indians, while Tipu's forces numbered only 30,000. And his fall was apparently due to the betrayal of Tipu Sultan by his own ministers. So this is where I want to stop. I'm going to stop right here with regards to the heroism of Tipu Sultan.
Vinayji, to counter you, it is being said that first war of Indian independence started way after Tipu Sultan. So the history itself is bogus, it is being said. You have anything, whatever you said is what is there in the academia, but it is said it is bogus. Is that, do you agree with this, Mahesh ji, what Vinay ji said or what?
No, I strongly disbelieve. I strongly disagree. Tipu Sultan can be depicted only as a fanatic Muslim bigot. Nothing else. Neither a hero nor a villain. Is a fanatic Muslim bigot. Let me tell you something about Tipu Sultan. He had ruled Karnataka, a portion of Karnataka. Remember, the historians are portraying him as he has ruled the whole of South India. No, he has ruled a part of Karnataka, 2 districts of Karnataka. That is Mysore, Coorg, and 3. Third one he acquired afterwards is the South Kannada district, the coastal district. And a part of Kerala, just for 16.5 years. He has not ruled it for decades. And he started from December 7, 1782 to May 14, 1799. The most of the Malabar means the coastal Kerala, was under his control. And he was in Kerala only for 8 years. He did this one just to protect himself from the naval forces of British. Then by road or the land army was not so successful. They used to attack through the seashore. So to protect this Mysore empire, he acquired the coastal Karnataka. Sir, today I don't want to mention any Indian authors, be it a left wing or right wing. As you told me before, I am going to mention only the foreign authors, not Hindu, not Brahmin, or not related to any religions of this country. I want to take some sentence from Lewis B. Bowery. What he says is, atrocities committed by Tipu Sultan against Hindus in Malabar were worse and more barbarous than those committed against northern Indian Hindus by, we know everyone, we know those names. If you talk to a small kid also, they will say Muhammad Ghazni, they say Alauddin Khilji, they say Nadir Shah, but only few know Tipu Sultan. He explains what is Tipu Sultan. Normally, even a cruel person kills or tortures only his enemies. But this argument completely fails when it comes to Tipu Sultan. He committed cruelties against women and children.
Maheshji, quickly, before we go further, what do you say about Vinayji saying he was a great freedom fighter?
No. Let me just jump in here. I did not even finish, and then Maheshji took over. So I was actually only talking about the story that we have learned in our history books. When I was studying and when you were studying, what did we learn about Tipu Sultan is what I just told you in my introductory passage. But before I could go any further, obviously I did not get an opportunity to complete my argument. So if you don't mind, let me take over from here and then continue and tell you the stuff that has actually been, portrayed to us and what is reality. So exactly coming to Mr. Maheshji's points, I'll just be one quick thing before I go into the in-depth. Okay. Historians such as Brittlebank, Hassan, Chetty, Habib, and Salater, among others, argue that the controversial stories of Tipu Sultan's religious persecution of Hindus and Christians are largely derived from the work of early British authors who were very much against Tipu Sultan's independence and harbored prejudice against the Sultan. This is what they say. But the reality, let's go to the reality. The reality is there were lots of atrocities committed by Tipu Sultan, which historians are now digging out one by one. Okay? And this is what has to be done at a later stage, which we'll talk again later on. But just to continue that, the key atrocities were committed in Malabar, which is Kerala, in Coorg, in Srirangapatnam itself, and in a place called Bidanur in northern Karnataka, and in Mangalore as well. So some of these, and now just quickly talking about the Malabar atrocities, right? He ruled Malabar, like Maheshji said, for 8 years. So in many historians in the South India are now digging up the true history of Tipu, and he apparently was an epitomic figure of barbarism and fanaticism. According to Khan Hussein Ali Kermani, a historian, Tipu felt animosity against those who preached or practiced non-Islamic faiths and beliefs. He called them kafirs, like that's a common word that's used now. And according to Louis B. Bowery, the atrocities committed by Tipu against Hindus and Hindu temples were worse and more barbarous than those committed against the Hindus in Hindustan by the notorious Ghazni, Khilji, Nadir Shah, Aurangzeb, and so many others.
Yes.
Right? Tipu's own claim, he has written letters. He used to write letters to his own ministers. Okay? And he has claimed that he had destroyed 8,000 temples. Okay? And he goes into account over on to express the joy over capturing the Malabar region and converting a huge number of people. And in his letters that were reviewed by a historian by name K.M. Panikar in a magazine called Basha Posini magazine in 1923, he said, a letter dated March 22nd, 1788 to Abdul Qadir. This is Tipu's letter. Over 12,000 Hindus were honored with Islam. There were many Nambudri Brahmins among them. This achievement should be widely publicized among the Hindus. Then the local Hindus should be brought before you and converted to Islam. No Nambudri Brahmin should be spared. In a letter dated December 14, 1788 to his army chief in Calicut, Kozhikode, I am sending 2 of my followers with Mir Hussain Ali. With their assistance, you should capture and kill all Hindus. Those below 20 may be kept in prison, and 5,000 from the rest should be killed from the treetops. These are my orders. In a letter to Burduz Zaman Khan, he wrote that around 400,000 Hindus were forcibly converted. In another letter to Syed Abdul Dulai on January 18, 1790, he wrote, with the grace of Prophet Muhammad and Allah, almost all Hindus in Calicut are now converted to Islam. Only a few are still not converted on the borders of Cochin state. I am determined to convert them also very soon. I consider as jihad to achieve that object. These are his own letters to his own ministers.
And where are these letters now?
These letters were dug up by a historian by name K.M. Panikar, and it is actually published in a magazine called Basha magazine. This was published in 1923.
Okay. Mahesh, what do you say?
You are rightly told about the freedom fighter issue. He died on 1799. The first freedom struggle of India, what we call the first freedom of struggle of India, is happened on 1857. So there is a gap of 58 years after his death. After 58 years, first freedom struggle was fought. So no way he is connected to the freedom struggle. He was just a king who was protecting his empire. That's it. He was not a freedom struggler. He has not struggled for India's freedom. He fought against British by the help of French. He made the way for the French to get inside India. He invited French people to India to fight against British. So no way he is a freedom fighter.
To you, Dr. Patel, welcome to our discussion here. And question to you is, Tipu Sultan is projected as a freedom fighter, big freedom fighter who stood against British. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that?
No, I can never. He was a tyrant. He was a bigot. Because it goes to his genes now. Who was his father? Hyder. What was he? Worker in this army. Whose army? Karnataka's king's, Mysore king's army. Again, how he developed, got it developed, just like just a beginner, as a Sainik, just a beginner. And who's his native place? He comes from Gulbarga, then to Kolar, then to Mysore, and he blackmails the king, puts him behind the Graha Bandhan, what you call in Indian language, and he rules it. Such a blood is there. This naturally comes to his son, all the issues, and that was there basically in Tipu's blood. Second thing, as per our previous friends have told, it is all true. Just go to Kerala or Malabar, or go to this Kurga, what you call as Kodagu. The whole history will come right now. It is not far off. Hardly 200 years, sir. Hardly 200 years. And all the letters, with happiness, he has written to the, whatever he said, his Senapatis or the commandos or anybody who was this one. With happiness, he has written. And he was such a tyrant and is a deadly person. Even his sword, which is very famous in the world, Tipu's sword. What was the inscription on that one? What was the inscription? It was in Urdu. What was his official language? That is in this one. It was, though it was a Persia, administration was done in Kannada. But he tried and he implemented Persia as Mysore's language. Is this patriotism? Killing our own Indians, South Indians, Kerala, and this one, Kodagu, and other temple, destroying all the temples. In terms of whatever our brother said, it is 8,000, more than 8,000. It is innumerable. Hardly 2 temples were remaining. The reason is he was a sort of psychic patient, a sort of sadistic Tipu in medical language. He trusted the so-called palmistry and bhavisha and all. So there were 2 pujaris in those temples where they are remaining now, Srirangapatna and all. And it was done through Purnaya, who was a Brahmin. I have to take his name. But he was totally under the care of Brahmin right from his 14th or 15th year. Handed over from Hyder and this one. How his mind got trained, nobody can answer it. He became an anti-Hindu. He became a Pakka Islami original person. He went on converting. He the tortures, whatever he has done to his women and children and massacre is just like whatever has happened in the Syria and other things, whatever you are seeing in the pictures. Now they just cut it and he was just with his sword he was doing. His sword was almost prepared by a hard carbonized item those days. His science and his scientific nature goes here, his research goes here, sir. It was called as oolds. Oolds. The metal is called as oolds. It is such a hard one and sharpened one. If it hits the another sword, the other sword used to get cut. Such was his sword. And what was the inscription on this one? Allah. Islam. There is no greater than on this word other than Allah. It is still there. The inscriptions and details are there.
But Dr. Patel or Vinay, you can go on and on Tipu. But let me say, we hear the story that the male coat Brahmins were killed and the women were kidnapped or raped and all those things, right? They don't celebrate Diwali, okay? Deepavali.
Never they have celebrated. Not even till date. Till date they have never celebrated it. 2,000 families were totally vanished.
Yes.
Iyengar.
And you know what? My question is simple. If that is true, how the Manjunatha Swami temple in Srirangapatnam is standing tall?
There was a so-called, what he call is a Senapati in his army, Tipu's right hand, who was earlier a Brahmin, got converted into Muslim. His name I have forgotten, I may inform you later on. It was he who diverted his mind, saying that these people are paying the so-called taxes right from Haidar's time. So don't disturb this temple, and if you disturb it, whatever amount you are getting, whatever the tax you are getting, that will be spoiled. And just keep quiet like that only. Whatever happened in Srirangapatna by those two palmist people who saved and served him and escaped from Tipu's hands, same thing happened here also.
And
this is history.
And Melkot temple also not destroyed.
Yes, same items. Whatever the threat was given by this, the so-called Hindu converted into Islami, who was his right hand. I've just forgotten his some Ali or something is there. It is history. It is a written thing. It is a documented thing. Through him, he diverted his mind. And because he's all future telling, whatever he call it, the futuristic things, if they came true, and his total aim was to become the emperor by killing the Marathas, Hindus, Christians. Even he has done more than 30,000 circumcision. Circumcision is, making Muslim by cutting this further skin of the penis. There is no other word for that one. Then they become this one, what you call as a Islami, and making them to tell Allahu Akbar. That's all. Such things are there. These are recorded things written by himself to his own right hand in the Mysore, and with all happiness.
Vinayji, but there was no Hindu king who was able to take on to Tipu. Then how can you say that he is not now? BJP government is eliminating the word he is not tiger of Mysore, and all the Hindu king, Maratha king, nobody was able to take him at all. He was unconquerable, right?
Yeah, the reason is because he colluded with some of the foreign forces. Like he brought in people to help him out with let's say people from armies from Afghanistan, France, and many of these other countries. He got them to help them out. So he built an army that was so powerful. At one point, Tipu's army was more than 60,000. So he had that kind of a power. Despite that, he lost some of the wars. He lost the war against the Marathas, and he lost the war against Peshwas, and so on and so forth. And they let him go. But they let him go because what happened was he made a treaty with them that he will not touch them and he will leave them be, and but whatever, he will still be collecting some of the taxes from them.
So that's not a victory.
So they said, okay, you know what? If we have to give him some taxes, that is fine, so long as we have our kingdom. So that is pretty much what ended up happening.
Maheshi is not agreeing with you.
He, as I told in the beginning, he was just ruling 5 districts, not more than that. Till Srangeri, the adjacent district to Mysore, then Mysore, Marathas were ruling. So he was not extending his empire beyond those limits. So that's why he was safe. When British fought against him in Third Anglo-Mysore War, he pledged his sons. Nowhere in the history, in the entire world, a father pledged his sons to the British. So he's a coward. To survive from British, he pledged two of his sons. What a shame. So he extended his empire only in the coastal part. So there were no kings ruling. It was a small, Kerala, it was a small state. And even the coastal Karnataka, it was a small state and covered with forest and jungles. During those periods, even today you can see a thick forest there. So no one was interested to rule this part. He was ruling from the Mysore palace. Srirangapatna as the center.
Maheshji, you had to keep in mind, no matter what, he got the name called the Tiger of Mysore. No Hindu king got it.
There is no record to prove the name. Even in the Library of London, all these records where they are getting the letters and all they are getting from the, I forgot the name of the Library of London. There is no proof to say that he is a Tiger of Mysore. Only these sold out souls of Karnataka, who is close to the Congress government, they have given this reward. Nowhere in the history book, I can mention 100 books to you, written by Indians and foreigners. Nowhere in the books of the history, Tiger of Mysore is not mentioned. We cannot call a person who pledges his sons to British, we cannot call them a tiger. We have heard of the Hoysala. How we found the tiger.
A lot of these titles, right? The Tiger of Mysore, Mahatma, Chacha, all these things
Dalapati,
were all mostly
Dalapati of
creation,
Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, mostly creation of the British. They were the British are known for divide and conquer. They are known for that.
Sir, his guru was Purnaya, who was the chief minister of the Mysore, who was so intelligent that he was the minister for the Hyder Ali also, who was his father. And he was, after the death of Hyder Ali, he became the minister for the same person was handed over and became the right hand of Tipu Sultan. That is the shrewdness of the Purnaya. And Purnaya, to protect himself, he knew all those things. All the internal nature of this Tipu Sultan to get saved himself without leaving the job and all. He managed to just fortify his stamina. He became a sort of Chanakya as he was for Chandragupta. He went on teaching all the arts of the 64 arts of the Indian history to the Vidyas of the India. And he had 2000 worth of library. He had a very good library wherein he had kept all the books, Persian, Arabian, all those things, including Sanskrit and other things. He was learned in that one. And it is he who named him as the Tiger of Mysore. To get escape from him, this one, to safeguard his family and his people who are dependent upon him, he had to fortify his stamina. Otherwise, his height is hardly 5 feet and 8 inches and short-necked and very black. Whatever you are seeing in the photos is not his photo. The original photo is totally different. They have taken from Maharana Pratap's or somebody else and they have just capped it and made his photo. It is not his photo, sir.
Perfect.
It can never be his photo. He was just like Hyder Ali with a sunken cheeks and a longer face and with 5 feet and 8 inches, which is written by the British people, which is kept in London.
You heard about Bhatt surname in Srinagar, Kashmir. Same way we have a Odayar surname for Muslims in Karnataka, in Mangalore. There are so many historic places where we can prove his atrocity towards Hindu religion and towards Christians also. The one village in Mangalore, I stay just 5 kilometers away from that village. It is called Nettarakere, pond of blood. Yes, killed so many Christians, and the pond became red. Since then the name of the village is also called Netterakere, blood pond. So like that, I can show you so many ports where he killed the people, and the rape what is happening, and the murder. It was a daily affair in his ruling. And I'm not talking about, I'm quoting all this from the books of foreigners. I can give every name of the books I referred. It's not one. More than 100 foreigners wrote about this. There are so many sayings. The way he killed mother and daughter, children. He used to hang the mother to the tree and the children to the neck of the mother. So such a cruel person he was. And unfortunately, the Congress government was celebrating his chanting.
Yeah, the one quick thing that I also want to add was Tipu Sultan was also apparently was some kind, some way cursed. So whoever has glorified him has had a very fatal end. Okay, so that's what I want to end with. Sanjay Khan was one of the guys who was shooting a movie on Tipu Sultan, and his whole tent burned down, and he suffered with like 80% or 90% burn injuries.
Sir, adding to Vinay sir's portion, his family, presently they are in Kolkata, in Koliganj. They are the rickshaw drivers. They stay in a remote area. They lost everything. There's one author who says they used the doors of the house to cook the food. They couldn't even afford for firewoods. So they are living in a slum now. Most of his family is living.
Don't say loud. Asruddin Owaisi will send an Apple phone.
No, I want them. That's what I'm saying. I want them. I want Congress to help them. Maybe Sitharama will come to know about this and he'll help them.
Your PFI and CFI will send 1 crore each from 1 lakh each from Mangalore.
Yeah, then our Hindu brothers and sisters, they will realize what they are doing against whom.